Moving on to 12.5 and all of the things that we've been working on for 12.5. 12.5 will be out in October, so next month we'll be releasing 12.5 to all the schools. This release we've really been focusing in on two things. One, we heard earlier that the system was, didn't look very good. Thanks, Colin. We've really focused in on making sure that the system comes to life and actually represents the technology behind it and actually looks the part, I guess. So we've done a lot of work to improve the graphics, improve the look, improve the feel, so that it's a much more engaging interface. So that's been our major focus. The other one is the learning management system. We've recognised that we need to improve the learning management side of things, specifically around analytics and assessment. To do that, we've added in rubrics, which will give us criteria marking, so more grade markings on your assessments. And we've also added in a whole lot of other features that I'll quickly go through, but we've improved that whole system immensely, so it's much easier to use and much quicker for teachers to actually grade and assess and get results back to students. And finally, we've got homepage statistics down there. So we've added in, obviously, we had homepage statistics back in the early days, but we lost it a while ago. It got deprecated. The data wasn't as up-to-date and accurate as we would have liked, so we've now brought it back, renewed and looking good. So that's in there now. Really important for teachers to get an idea of how many people are actually accessing the page, when they're accessing it, who they're accessing it, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So finally, we've got synergetic attendances down there, which is an important thing for a lot of schools, I know. Not every school's on Synergetic, but a lot of schools are. And Synergetic has released an API for their attendances about 2 or 3 months ago, which now gives us the ability to build a system on top of that API directly into Schoolbox. You saw Winona had attendances early, they built their own system separate from us, but we're now building our own system directly into Schoolbox. So that the idea being is that we want what we call stickiness. We want teachers to be visiting their homepage as regularly as possible, so we're going to put the attendance link directly on their class page so that part of their daily routine will be to visit their class page, do their attendances, post some news, post a file, post the due work. That'll be part of their routine. So attendances adds in a really valuable part to that. So it's an important sticky feature, as we call it. So I talked earlier about the improved look and feel, and that's come through in a lot of different ways. This is a dashboard look and feel, and some things that we've updated and improved here. One, of course, the weather's back and working and functioning, which actually happened in 12.05 update. So we can turn that on for Winona again today. So the weather's working. We've added in images to news. We've been doing images on news on our public websites for ages. I'm not sure why we didn't have it in Schoolbox News earlier, but now you can attach images along with your news posts and have them on the dashboard. We've also given a bit of a hint text on the dashboard as well for the news items, so you can get a bit of an idea of what's going on in that news post outside of the headline. The calendar has obviously been neatened up. The upcoming due work has been cleaned up, but I'll talk a bit more about that later because that comes up again later on another page. And we also have the activity feed, which has been improved with icons of the profile photos of who's been doing things, what they're doing. You can see grades coming through as well. So a whole lot more information is now available in that activity feed, giving users much better notifications of what's going on in the system and where they need to look to see the latest updates. You also see what's new up in the top right corner there. The subjects have got little icons on them. This won't be happening in 12.5, but it will be happening in a later release. We're going to have icons for each subject, so teachers will be able to personalise their subject page with their own image and icon, and that will be represented through the system, so they'll be able to see exactly what students will be able to get some differentiation between their classes and make it a bit more colourful as well. Okay, so this is homepage analytics. What we've done here is brought in all the information we've had in the system. We can show who's visiting the page, how often, when, all that information that we log with behind the scenes. So every teacher will have a link to their homepage statistics and be able to access their recent visitors, their yet to visit. The yet to visit is based on your class list or your group list. So if you have a class list, you can find out who hasn't visited during that period of time. So If you want to check if there's any kids that haven't actually logged into the page, you're able to quickly see that now as well. We also have top files and top links to tell you what people are actually clicking on and using on your page, to give you a bit of feedback on what's the popular links and popular resources that you posted. A bit like a survey tool to find out who's doing what. This is the new due work page for students, and I talked a bit before about the normalized grade marks, and now you can see where that comes through. On each of the students' subjects, you can now see grade averages. So that's how they're performing in their subject currently, based on all the assessments and online reports that their online quizzes that they've currently done. You can also see that shows trending, so that it'll show you if you're improving or going down or going up. So it gives kids ideas how they're going and where they're performing against their last assessment. Below that, you see we've cleaned up the upcoming due work to make it much clearer about what students are doing and what they need to do. It's very clear now with colour to show exactly when work is overdue, when it's due, and when you've got a bit more time left. And once again, the activity feed there, all cleaned up and added images into that as well. So we've really tried to add as many pictures and icons as possible, because obviously the feedback was it's very text heavy, and the interface is very basic, so that's been the real focus of this update. I mentioned earlier about rubrics, that we're going to be bringing rubrics in. So this is actually from a student's perspective, this is actually seeing their results of a rubric. So coming in, and as you've seen in this case, students had via the history, you can see the conversation that is going on around that particular assessment. There's been a first draft, and they've been marked for that first draft with a D+, and then following that, they've been given a B- as the final mark. This page gives you all the information about what you handed in, accessing it, which we already have, but we've just neatened it up a bit, made it a lot clearer. Below all of that, you see we now have the rubrics as well. So beyond just the grade, you'll also be able to see the criteria and how they were marked as well. So the full rubric will be assessed. And in that example, it's just the basic text, but you will be able to put full sentences and full criteria definitions into the system as well. So you'll be able to communicate all of those criteria through to your students. The idea being, following this, that we will have, like I said, that longitudinal reporting, so we'll be able to mesh together all your criteria across all of your assessments and present that to the students, so they'll be able to see how they're performing across all of these in the future as well, across each assessment. So I mentioned earlier about making it easier to actually return and submit work. What we've done is we've made it now. In the past, you had to click a link to actually grade students' work, and it was pretty click intensive to actually grade work. We've now made that a simple process by making it all on the one page. You can edit, grade a mark or edit a rubric in this case. You can return a comment, and you can also select and return marked work all from within this page. You can select a whole set of marked work from at one time. So if you've downloaded all of your students' work into a folder using the download all button up the top here, you'll then be able to go grade them all, select them all, return them all in one upload. So you won't have to go and click to multiple pages, upload, click to page, upload, click to page. It's actually all one step now, so much quicker to return and mark that work. This is actually marking a rubric. So going back to this page here, sorry to make you all dizzy, but if we had clicked on edit rubric from there, you can actually mark rubrics from here and bring through that grade directly. That's how you actually interact. You just click on the rubric and it will automatically mark and graph that as you go. It also provides a grade based on the rubric for you automatically. So we've also brought through all of the profile photos through the rest of the system as well. And it's not just these modules, but we've also put it all through the blog, the forum, and all of those places where people are communicating and interacting. We've brought through their profile photos so that you can see exactly who's doing it rather than just their name, and try to bring a lot more imagery into the system. We had the old group managers and members components, which just were a list of names. You can now change that into you can see the list of names here, but we can now show a grid of photos. And we've also added in a new class list component as well, which will show you a grid of all the photos of all the kids in your class on your class page, which is really useful if you want your kids to be interacting with each other. We're also going to enable kids to actually access other kids' e-portfolios, and that's potentially the way that they'll access each other's e-portfolios through that module as well. So that enables you to actually, clicking on any of those photos will get you through to be able to access their e-portfolio, send them an email, all of those sort of things. We've also added in just a quick little feature there, email all parents. So from any class list, you can now email all the parents as well as the kids in the class. So you've got both options there. All right, so that just wraps up 12.5. There's lots of other stuff there, but that was sort of my highlights for the system. So you get a bit of an idea of what we're working on and where we're going with it. Obviously, we'll have full release notes out probably in about 2 weeks' time, detailing everything that's going to be in the system. And we'll also support that with some blog posts and some videos about some of the new features and things like that as well.